Hello. I thought I'd talk a little bit about today about a rubric, and some of you may not even know the term yet. A rubric is a tool that helps you grade something. It says here a scoring tool for subjective assessments. It's primarily used for things that are subjective, things that you might have a different opinion than I have, and we might grade them differently because of that. You'll see some other definitions here of set of criteria linked to learning objectives. A rubric does allow for standardized evaluation, and that means that if a whole bunch of us grade things using the same rubric, we should be fairly close to the same results. So a rubric is not Rubik's Cube, just to let you know. They are different. So let's try this out. Let's say, for example, I make some chocolate chip cookies, and you eat one of my cookies, and you decide it tastes delicious. Well, how did you decide that? Actually, internally and formally, you probably used a rubric mentally to decide if you liked it or not. You might have thought about how sweet the cookie was or was not, whether it had nuts or not, the texture, did you like it or not? You might have even thought about, was the cookie big enough? Did you taste real butter? Were there lots of chips, not enough chips? Were they good chips? What about, was there coconut in it? Was there cinnamon? Was it fresh from the oven? All those things help you determine whether or not you like the chocolate chip cookie. Now, a rubric is just a formalized version of the things that go on in your mind. So this might be a rubric to use for a chocolate chip cookie. Now, this is pretty pretend, shall we say. It's just an artificial rubric to try to get a point across here. But you'll see there are columns. Down the left-hand columns are the categories. The nuts category, the chocolate chips category, the crunch, freshness, and the ingredients. And each one of those is worth a percentage of the total score this cookie would get. So nuts are worth up to 10% of the cookie's score. Chocolate chips are worth up to 20% of the cookie's score. Now the next columns going across, one is below expectations. So on the nuts category, worth 10% of the total points, if there are no nuts or even too many nuts, you're not going to get the 10% of those points. If it meets expectations for this particular rubric, if there's enough nuts, you're going to get 50% or half of the 10% of the total number of points possible. And if it exceeds expectations, in this case used a variety of nuts, you're going to get 100% of the points. You're going to get 10% of the points possible for this. So you'll see for chocolate chips, you can have too few, inadequate, or finally, I have enough chocolate chips in a cookie. The crunch, you're not going to get any points if it's too hard or too soft. You're going to get all the points if it's chewy, crunchy on the outside and chewy on the inside. Freshness, of course, if it's still warm from the oven, you're going to get 100% of the points possible for that category. And then lastly, the quality of ingredients. So this one would work pretty well for a chocolate chip cookie, but it might even be more valuable of a rubric if we could make it generic for all cookies. Then I could use it for sugar cookies and peanut butter cookies and all kinds of cookies. So here's another rubric that might work for all cookies. So the categories are flavor, freshness, the quality of the ingredients, and any extras that were added. So you'll see again here below expectations is a column, meets expectations, and exceeds. So for a cookie on this category, using this rubric to get 100% of the points, it has to have an interesting or unique blend of flavors, still be warm from the oven, have superior ingredients, and have extras that work well together and enhance that cookie experience. So this is an example of a rubric that I could use for all kinds of cookies, which is very handy. Then I don't have to have 20 different rubrics for 20 different cookies. In theory, if this were a real rubric, I could use it for all cookies. So what does this look like in real life, though? Here at Centralia College, we do use rubrics for grading a number of things, and the English department has quite a few rubrics. I've taken one of theirs and certainly simplified it a lot just so I could fit it on the screen. There's much more to this rubric in reality. But in this one, you can see the categories going down the left column are for an English paper in writing, the content, the documentation, and mechanical issues. So the content, if you have a poorly developed thesis, no argument, no credible sources, you're not going to get any of the points for that category. meets expectations at the far right, the thesis is fully developed, supported with strong arguments and 10 or more credible sources. Then you'll get at least half of the points possible for this assignment. Now, without going further into detail on this particular rubric, you will notice that all of the scoring done on these is percentage based. This works really well because this rubric will work if an assignment is worth 100 points or 500 points or 18 points. It will still work. So the value of using percentages versus points based on these becomes apparent when you can use it no matter what the point value is of the particular assignment. So I hope this helps you understand how rubrics work and how they help people grade things a little bit more consistently from one student to another, or perhaps even from one teacher to another. Thank you.